So if you follow TikTok, and if you haven't, I'll fill you in. There's a trend that's been happening on TikTok for a while called "Can we skip to the good part?" Hashtag "Can we skip to the good part?" And it goes like this. There's a little snippet of music, plays some music, and then there's a pause, and then it's the guy sings, "Can we skip to the good part?" And then the music goes, and it's about 10 seconds, and there's a lot of videos on TikTok using this little clip of music, and the videos are all these like amazing transitions, and they use all this cool film transition. So it might be like a couple sitting in the airport with their luggage, and they'll be like, "Can we skip to the good part?" And now they're on the beach, with their cocktail. Or I saw one like that was a woman, and she was like very pregnant, and it was like, "Can we skip to the good part?" And she's holding the baby. And then there was another one I saw. It was like a group of friends, and they're all standing around. "Can we skip to the good part?" And now they're all wearing their cap and gown, and it's graduation day. So this is a trend that's happening on TikTok. If you're on there, you've seen it. And if not, you get the idea. And so I was thinking about this this week at the start of our Parsha. There is an announcement. It's kind of subtle, though. Like, I think it's easy to miss. We're about to get to a good part. And God is telling us this at the opening of this week's Parsha, when God says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob knew me by my name El Shaddai, but they did not know me by my name Hashem, Adonai. And the sages argue about this because, first of all, it's actually not true. The patriarchs did know this name Hashem. The name, the Yud-Heh Vav-Heh, is used 165 times in the book of Genesis, and the Torah bears witness to multiple instances of God revealing God's name, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh, to the patriarchs. But Rashi explains the discrepancy like this. The Torah doesn't actually say that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did not know my name Hashem. They said, "Lo nodati lahem," they did not know myself. They did not know me, according to this name. So Rashi's explanation is that while the patriarchs knew the name Adonai, they did not get to experience God according to the true nature of that name. Which highlights a second point of discussion among the sages, which is, what distinguishes between the name El Shaddai and Adonai, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh? And there's a lot of discussion about this, but one of the most common answers is that it has to do with God's relationship to the natural order of the world. So the name El Shaddai, which within it contains the word dai, like dayenu, enough, scholars say that God as El Shaddai works in a somewhat limited way in the context of the natural order of the world. God El Shaddai performs miracles, but those miracles are limited to things that can conceivably happen in the natural world. Rain, food, fertility, success in business, all of these are miracles. And they are also within the scope of nature, of regular life. On the other hand, God as Hashem, as Adonai, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh, is a God that has the potential to work outside the natural order of the world. So Hashem, Adonai, is God intervening in history, changing something beyond what we can expect in the course of nature. And Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks takes this view and applies it to the beginning of this Parsha. And Rabbi Sacks says this, that the essence is this: a fundamental distinction is being made between the experience that the patriarchs had of God and the experience that the Israelites are about to have. So something new, unprecedented, was about to happen. God is about to change the natural course of the world. God is about to intervene in history. So that's the important part. We're going to skip to the good part. The good part that God's saying, there's something big about to happen. The good part is about to happen. And how is God going to do it? We read it in the Torah today. Ani Adonai v'hotzeti etchem v'hitzalti etchem v'ga'alti etchem. I want to point this out. I read this from Robert Alter. These statements, I'll talk more in just a second about them. They start and end with Ani Adonai. This is a formula. Ani Adonai. It's in other ancient texts. Robert Alter says it's a sandwich. I think it's in verse 6 and verse 8, the sandwich for this little section right here about how God is going to redeem the people. And when an authority figure says Ani so-and-so, Ani Adonai, it's like saying, by the power vested in me, I'm going to do this. So this is like a statement right here. Here's what I'm about to do. And God says, here's what I'm going to do. V'hotzeti etchem, v'hitzalti etchem, v'ga'alti etchem, v'lakachti etchem. And you recognize these words. We say them at the Seder. They're in the Haggadah. I'm going to free you from the labors of the Egyptians. I'm going to deliver you from their bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and through extraordinary chastisements. And then I will take you to be my people. Abarbanel asks the question, why the repetition? I'm going to free you. I'm going to deliver you. I'm going to redeem you. Basically, God's saying, I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you. So why do we have to say it 3 times? What's the point of that? And the rabbis say that the answer to this is that redemption is a process. We can't just skip to the good part. And this, so I just said it, this is the basis for the 4 cups that we drink on Seder, in the Haggadah. So those 4 words, this is why we drink the 4 cups, and they each represent a different stage of redemption, and there's a lot that's been written about those specific stages and what happens and that. And public service announcement, and thank you to my husband Ari, because this is his thing. Pesach is 74 days away. So on the one hand, the Parsha starts off by telling us that we are on the precipice of something new. Something big is going to happen. Hashem, Adonai, will be intervening in some way in the political, social, natural world of the Israelites, and according to God's nature as Hashem. God is about to change history. So we know this on the one hand. And of course, we know the story. That is what's going to happen. But on the other hand, God tells us that the way that the redemption will happen is through a process. Rabbi Shai Held writes an amazing paper on this parsha about the process of redemption and the fact that the Torah never actually makes it to the promised destination. Not only can we not skip to the good part, according to Rabbi Held, we actually never get to the good part at all. When we get to the end of the end of Deuteronomy, the process is still in process. It's still going on. Israel has not yet arrived. It's not until the book of Joshua that they get into the promised land. And likewise, Rabbi Held points out that the rabbis, in utilizing the 4 cups based on those 4 words that we read today, actually completely ignore the 5th word. There's another word that goes right after it. It says, Veheveti etchem el eretz asher. I will bring you into the land which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you as a possession. We don't even acknowledge that in the 4 cups. That's a 5th one. So the rabbis are telling us something here. It's not about the destination. We never get to the good part, right? I mean, if the destination is the good part. So all the more, this emphasizes the process of redemption. So there's a miracle. There's something big about to happen. I'm going to use my name, Hashem, and there's a process. The miracle is the process. The process is the miracle. This week, I read an interview that the LA Jewish Journal did with my teacher and friend, Rabbi Rochelle Robbins, who is the vice president of my alma mater, Academy for Jewish Religion, California, and the academic dean of the chaplaincy and rabbinical schools, and she heads up the clinical pastoral education program, which is so amazing. It was one of the best things that I got to do at AJR. She spoke to the Jewish Journal about her experience as a chaplain prior to her work at AJRCA, and she said this: it's not only being present for people, it's being present for people and helping them on their terms without our own agenda. Which, when I read that, I think about it's about honoring someone else's process, that the care of another person has to do with their process and giving honor to that. Rabbi Robbins relates a story about a patient who was dying from a cardiac issue, and that patient asked Rabbi to come into his room, and where she spent an hour listening to him talk about what was on his mind. It was mostly about emotional suffering he was experiencing due to mistakes he'd made in his life. And after that hour, and in the ensuing days before he died, he communicated great relief to Rabbi Robbins for sitting with him and letting him unload those things that he had carried for so long. That man's emotional healing, his redemption, if you will, happened because a chaplain facilitated a process that changed his history, that changed his course, and brought him to the peace that he needed at the end of his life. But sometimes the process doesn't give us the closure and satisfaction that that story does. One person finds peace in a critical hour-long talk, and another suffers decades of anguish in this world and that never resolves. I'm reminded of a story often told by David Sachs, the Darshan of Happy Minyan in LA. I love to listen to his podcast. Once he was in the kitchen making brownies with his kids, and his young daughter stuck her finger in the batter and tasted it and got a look on her face, and she said, "Abba, this is brownies?" And to that, David Sachs replied, "Yes, it's not done yet." And as long as we live in this world, it's the process that keeps going. We're not done. Like Moses, we never arrive in the promised land, so to speak. But we mustn't despair. In fact, what we really have to do is lean into what it means to be in process, to be in a state of becoming. Back to Rabbi Held, who relates a story from his teenage years that when he was studying in yeshiva in Israel, he was grappling with some theological questions that felt extremely pressing to him at the time. And while some of his teachers discouraged some of the questions of this fervent teenager, one of Held's mentors, Rabbi Louis Jacobs, wrote a note to him saying this: "Remember always that the search for Torah is itself Torah, and that in the very search you have already found. The process is the miracle. The miracle is the process." And I want to add an idea from Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal, who in the first chapter of his magnum opus, the Meshilat Yesharim, The Path of the Just, which was written in 1740, quotes Pirkei Avot. And in this quote, the Ramchal is really saying that this process is the point. In fact, on a spiritual level, we're actually not intended to reach the destination. In Pirkei Avot, it says, Rabbi Jacobs said, "Haolam hazeh dome lifrozdot bifnei haolam haba," which means this world is like a vestibule before the world to come. Prepare yourself in the vestibule so that you may enter the banqueting hall. The Ramchal points out that our souls on the soul level were created to be with God, and that on that level, our innate desire is for a reality that cannot happen actually in this world, or can't fully happen in this world. No pleasures in this world can truly satisfy us on a soul level, that this is actually our intended state. We can't skip to the good part in this world. The Ramchal quotes Kohelet, "Ki amal ha'adam lefichu v'gam hanefesh lo timale." All of man's earnings are for the sake of his mouth, yet his gullet, his nefesh, or his soul, is not sated, is not satisfied. The Ramchal writes, "A person was created not for their station in this world, but for their station in the world to come. It is only that their station in this world is a means towards their station in the world to come, which is the ultimate goal." The rest of Mesilat Yesharim, which I'm still reading, is a classic Musar text which emphasizes our obligation to work on our character while we have the opportunity to do so in this world, in this process. And one final thought in conclusion. So Parsha Va'era highlights two names of God. We talked about El Shaddai and Adonai, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. And these two names are given to us to show something new is about to happen. History is about to change. And the change will happen by way of a process. And one of my favorite teachings, and this is where I think we can really skip to the good part, is that the most intimate name of God is Ata, you. We read in Psalm 23, "Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet," though I walk through a valley of deepest darkness, Lo irara, I will fear no harm. Ki ata imadi, for you are with me. God is with us on this journey. I pray that each of us will embrace the process of redemption, which we are living out right now, the Torah of searching for Torah, this singular human life of deepest longing lived in only one direction. I pray for intervention from Adonai, Hashem, the one who intervenes in history. I pray for intervention in our personal and collective history to take place in those spots that need to be redeemed. I pray to you, Atah, to be with us, holding that miraculous space for the process to happen. Shabbat Shalom.